Hello. Who I am is not important. What is important is the man whose picture you now see before you. His name was Sergeant First Class Alwyn C. Cashe, and he was a member of the 1st of the 15th Infantry Regiment, 3rd Infantry Battalion, serving at Forward Operating Base McKenzie in 2005. On October the 17th of 2005, Sergeant Cashe was engaged in a combat action at Ad-Dalia, Iraq, an action for which he was awarded the Silver Star posthumously on November the 11th, 2005. 3 days after his death on November the 8th, 2005, at Brooke Army Hospital from horrific burns incurred during that action. After his division was redeployed to the United States, his former commander, Colonel Brito, became aware of more compelling evidence and documentation and witnesses, and more about what Sergeant Cashe selflessly did on that horrific day 6 years ago from tomorrow. Twice Colonel Brito has submitted Sergeant First Class from an upgrade of the Silver Star to the Medal of Honor, and twice it has been returned, once for additional documentation and once because the Army's 2-year nomination time limit had expired. Those of us who are former comrades, friends of the family, are now seeking congressional support to waive the 2-year Army time limit so that Colonel Brito's Medal of Honor package can be considered by the military chain of command. Please allow me to read the accompanying proposed Medal of Honor citation that is included in the package, which I have. Sergeant First Class Alwyn C. Cashe, United States Army, distinguished himself by exceptional gallantry and action in the face of violence while serving as the platoon sergeant of 1st Platoon Alpha Company, 1st Battalion, 15th Infantry Regiment, based at Forward Operating Base McKenzie, Salida Din Province, Iraq. On October the 17th, 2005, Sergeant First Class Alwyn Cashe's heroic actions saved the lives of 6 of his fellow soldiers. At approximately 19:15 hours, his platoon departed the Forward Operating Base along Route Jamie to conduct a route clearance operation along a supply route that ran through the town of Dalia, a town adjacent to the Forward Operating Base. After traveling approximately 4 to 5 kilometers, the lead Bradley fighting vehicle, of which Sergeant First Class Cashe was in the gunner's hatch, struck a vehicle-detonated IED and placed across the route. The blast ignited the fuel cell, causing fuel to spew throughout the vehicle, igniting a fire and causing the vehicle to roll to a stop. Also, from the forward left flank of the blast site, the platoon received enemy small arms fire. Soaked with fuel himself, Sergeant First Class Cashe managed to dismount from the vehicle and assist the driver, whose uniform was on fire. Sergeant First Class Cashe extinguished the flames on Specialist Hal. 6 soldiers and an interpreter were in the troop compartment of the burning vehicle. Flames had engulfed the vehicle and were darting from the weapons ports. One of the soldiers in the back of the vehicle attempted to open the hatch door in an attempt to help the soldiers escape. The flames intensified and everyone inside was aflame. Without regard to his personal safety, Sergeant First Class Cashe rushed to the back of the vehicle, managed to help open the door, and began to pull the soldiers out one at a time. In doing this, the flames totally gripped his fuel-soaked uniform, causing severe, painful burns. Despite this pain, he bravely continued to pull his troops out of the vehicle and feverishly worked to put their flames out. As the chaos continued, Sergeant First Class Cashe noticed that the platoon medic was still inside. He rushed back to the vehicle, reached through the flames, and pulled out the medic. All this despite being on fire himself. Within moments, a trail vehicle arrived and assisted with the evacuation. Although severely burned, Sergeant First Class Cashe bravely continued to take control of the situation as best he could. Shortly thereafter, the company first sergeant, Chris McKenzie, accompanied by medics and other soldiers from the company, arrived and began to evacuate the severely burned soldiers, the worst of which was Sergeant First Class Cashe. Badly burned, all 6 soldiers were alive when they were air evacuated. The interpreter did not survive. Throughout the nightmarish ordeal, 10 soldiers were injured. 6 of the 10 were treated at Balad Hospital. 5 of those 6, including Sergeant First Class Cashe, were later evacuated through Landstuhl to the burn center in San Antonio, Texas. Sadly, over the next few weeks, 4 of the 6 died of wounds. Despite being the most severely injured with 2nd and 3rd degree burns over 72% of his body, Sergeant First Class Alwyn Cashe endured while his soldiers were alive. He suffered through painful surgeries, infections, organ failure, and loss of body parts as he continued to be the consummate platoon sergeant to his soldiers. Sergeant First Class Alwyn Cashe died of his wounds on November the 8th, 2005. He was the last of those so severely injured that terrible night to die. Sergeant First Class Cashe's selfless and gallant actions allowed the loved ones of these brave soldiers to spend precious time by their sides before each succumbed to their dreadful injuries. Although he's no longer with us, Sergeant First Class Alwyn C. Cashe is the type of hero that historians will write about. His actions are in keeping with the finest traditions of military heroism and reflect greatly upon himself and the U.S. Army. And please allow me to read portions of letters from general officers also recommending Sergeant Cashe for the Medal of Honor. His actions were not instinctive. They were not a reflex action. Instinct and normal human reaction would have sent him the other way. Rather, Sergeant First Class Alwyn C. Cashe consciously, deliberately, and willingly subjected himself to the excruciating pain and suffering of flame and smoke to save his soldiers and continue the mission. I know of no braver selfless act. We are all forever honored and humbled by his heroic actions. I join the chorus recommending Sergeant First Class Cashe's actions with the award of the Medal of Honor, not for him, but for his family, his comrades, our Army, and our nation and the world, so that they know our nation and Army still harbor men of fidelity, selfless service, and courage. Stephen L. Salazar, Brigadier General, United States Army. In all my years of service, I have yet to witness or hear of such an act of bravery. Sergeant First Class Alwyn Cashe performed as a hero in every sense of the word. His actions preserved life for others, and he will be forever remembered by many. He's truly deserving of the Medal of Honor, a consummate NCO leader and hero for future generations to learn from, admire, and strive to emulate. Joseph J. Toledo, Major General. What strikes me the most about Sergeant First Class Cashe's story goes beyond his absolute disregard for his own safety. In returning to and re-entering the flaming vehicle several times to save his soldier, Sergeant First Class Cashe defied the basic human instinct of self-preservation. After saving his driver, he consciously decided to continue exposing himself to open flames. The pain he suffered must have been unimaginable, and yet he continued to suffer in the name of saving others. Even unto his last breath in the hospital, he continued to express more concern for his soldiers than he did for himself. Recalling a military career spanning nearly 4 decades, I cannot remember a story that is its equal. His actions display the very virtues that lie at the Medal of Honor. I concur without hesitation in my endorsement of Sergeant First Class Cashe as a recipient for our nation's highest military honor. William G. Webster, Lieutenant General, United States Army. Those of us who have been fortunate enough to know his family, more importantly, the men of the 1st of the 15th Infantry Regiment who served with Sergeant Cashe in Iraq in 2005, and many, many, many American citizens throughout our country believe strongly that Sergeant First Class Cashe's actions deserve Medal of Honor consideration. But because of the 2-year Army time limit on nomination, Colonel Brito's Medal of Honor package cannot be considered by the military chain of command without congressional action to waive the 2-year Army time limit. So many of us are working to send letters, make calls, and send emails to members of Congress, especially the 2 Florida United States senators, Senator Bill Nelson and Senator Marco Rubio, as well as the member of Congress in the House of Representatives for Sergeant First Class Cashe's family, Congresswoman Sandy Adams, to sponsor legislation which would allow Congress to waive the 2-year Army time limit so that Colonel Brito's package can in fact be considered by the military chain of command. I apologize that perhaps I've seemed rambling and my voice is broken several times. But although I've read the Medal of Honor package of Colonel Brito's from front to back at least 50 times, I still cry every time I think about the pain that Sergeant Cashe endured to try and save his brothers in arms. And I remember his sister Cassinel telling me the story that on the day he died, his brother asked him, "Alwyn, why did you do it?" And Sergeant Cashe's response to his brother just hours before his death was, "Because I had made my peace with God, but I wasn't sure if my men had." Surely, the heroic actions of Sergeant First Class Alwyn C. Cashe merit Medal of Honor consideration. It will be up to the military chain of command to decide if his actions that day, 6 years ago from tomorrow, warrant the award of the Congressional Medal of Honor. He was in fact awarded the Silver Star on November the 11th, 3 days after his death. But he deserves to be considered. The Army should consider Colonel Brito's package, but we cannot do it without congressional legislation to waive the 2-year time limit, which is how many former veterans from World War II, Korea, and Vietnam are awarded the Medal of Honor, because this legislation is passed, so it's not something new. If this video and this story has moved you at all, please go to my Facebook page, and for that reason only, I tell you my name is Harry Conner, C-O-N-N-E-R. Or please go to the Facebook page, SFC Alwyn, which is A-L-W-Y-N, C, Cashe, C-A-S-H-E, deserves the Medal of Honor. That's SFC Alwyn C. Cashe, deserves the Medal of Honor. I think as a citizen that it's important for everyone, for every American citizen, to know Sergeant Cashe, to know his story, and to know that every single day our freedom is bought by the service and the blood of men and women such as Sergeant First Class Alwyn C. Cashe. Thank you so much for your time and consideration. I hope you will go to those Facebook those Facebook pages. And God bless each of you, and God bless America.